Hello, everybody. Welcome to our video on procurement management. This is part of the project management series. We will be exploring the topic of procurement management today. Procurement is often confused with sales. It's a lot more than that. Let's dive in and see how smart procurement can make or break a project. Firstly, what exactly is procurement management? Let us understand its definition and purpose first. The process necessary to purchase or acquire products, services, or results needed from outside the project team. Simply put, it's all about getting the stuff we need for our project from outside our team. In construction projects, procurement management is crucial for obtaining materials, equipment, and subcontractor services efficiently and cost effectively. This is really important. We're talking about getting materials, equipment, and even hiring subcontractors without overshooting the budget or breaking the bank. Think about it like this. If you're building a house, you need bricks, wood, windows, and skilled workers. Procurement management person is like being the ultimate shopping expert for your project, making sure you get everything you need when you need it and at the right price and quality. Now, let's break down the key aspects of procurement management. There are 5 main areas we need to focus on. Identifying and selecting qualified suppliers and subcontractors. Finding the right suppliers is like choosing the best teammates for your project. You want reliable partners who can deliver quality work without breaking the bank. It's not just about who's the cheapest, it's about who can consistently deliver what you need when you need it. Developing and managing contracts. That's basically creating the rule book for your project relationships. It's where you lay out what everyone's supposed to do and what happens if things don't go as planned. A good contract protects everyone involved and sets clear expectations from the start. Ensuring timely delivery of materials and services. Getting everything on time is crucial. Imagine if the windows for your house showed up after the walls were painted. That would be a mess, right? So, proper scheduling is the key. This means working closely with your suppliers to understand their lead times and any potential delays. Managing procurement risks. Keeping an eye on risks is all about being prepared. What if a supplier suddenly can't deliver? Or if material costs skyrocket? We need to have backup plans ready. This might mean having alternative suppliers lined up or building some flexibility into your budget and schedule. Coordinating procurement activities with project schedule and budget. Finally, making sure all our buying activities line up with our schedule and budget. It's like conducting an orchestra. All parts need to work together smoothly. This requires constant communication between your procurement team and the rest of the project team. The PMBOK 6th edition outlines 3 main processes in project procurement management. The first being plan procurement management. Documenting project procurement decisions, specifying the approach, and identifying potential sellers. Next is conduct procurements. This involves obtaining seller responses, selecting a seller, and awarding a contract. And the last is control procurements. This is where managing procurement relationships, monitoring contract performance, making changes and corrections as needed, and closing out contracts becomes a part of the activity. Now, what we need to keep in mind is these steps form a cycle that keeps going throughout your project. Let's take a closer look at each one of them. The three phases having varying inputs, tools and techniques and outputs depending on the phase and requirements at the particular stage of the project can be seen here in this slide. This is directly from the PMBOK 6th edition. Now we notice that plan procurement management, conduct procurements and control procurements all have different inputs, tools and techniques and outputs depending on the stage at which they are delivering for the project. When it comes to plan procurement management, planning is where it all starts. This is when we figure out what we need to buy, when we need to buy, and how we are going to get it. During this phase, you will be asking questions like, what exactly do we need to buy or outsource? When do we need these items or services? How are we going to get them? And what kind of contract should we use? The inputs during this phase are project charter, your business documents, project management plan, project documents, enterprise environmental factors, and organizational process assets. Now, under your business documents, your project management plan, and project documents, not all of the parts of the documents would be used. You will specifically be using the business case and the business or benefits management plan. Under project management plan, you would be requiring the scope management plan, the quality management plan, resource management plan, and the scope baseline to be able to create your plan procurement. Similarly, for project documents, you would need the milestone lists, project team assignments, requirements documentation, requirements traceability matrix, resource requirements, risk register, and stakeholder register as part of your plan procurement. When it comes to tools and techniques under this process, you would be applying expert judgment, getting data gathering through market research. You would be doing data analysis, wherein you'll be making your make or buy analysis. What we mean by make or buy is you will make a decision whether you would make the product yourself or you would buy it from the market, which would work out cheaper and would be more beneficial for the project to be done. We would also do source selection analysis and conduct meetings. The outputs at this stage include procurement management plan, the procurement strategy, bid documents, procurement statement of work, source selection criteria, your make or buy decision that you would have previously done an analysis on, you would make that decision now. Independent cost estimates, change requests. If the project is in an advanced stage and you're doing any changes to the project, that also needs to be documented here. Project document updates. So whatever is learned from the previous two steps in this process, you will have to update that in your lessons learned register, milestone register, requirements documentation, requirement traceability matrix, risk register, and stakeholder register. Now keep in mind that a lot of them also came in as inputs for this stage. However, once it goes through the tools and techniques part of the process, the updates which you learn or get from that tools and techniques stage would get updated in your output stage. Coming to conduct procurements, that's the second stage of your process. This is where the rubber meets the road. We are selecting sellers, negotiating deals, and getting those contracts signed. During this phase, you might put the word out about what you need. You might hold meetings to answer questions from potential suppliers. You might look at proposals and decide who's the best fit for this project. You will negotiate the nitty-gritty details with your chosen suppliers. You would also get the contracts signed and sealed at this phase. Now, the inputs during this stage are your project management plan, project documents, procurement documentation, seller proposals, enterprise environmental factors, and organizational process assets. Now, more specifically under project management plan, you would be looking at the scope management plan, the requirements management plan, your communication management plan, risk management plan, and procurement management plan. Under project documents, you will be looking at the lessons learned registered from the previous stage and the overall project, the project schedule, requirements documentation, risk register to understand the criticality of the sourcing, and stakeholder register to understand how you mitigate with the stakeholders that you have now newly acquired. Under the tools and techniques, you would be applying expert judgment, advertising to get new bidders for your project, bidder conference. This is where you will discuss with all the bidders, potential suppliers for your project about the nitty-gritties of the project and understand if they are suitable for the project. Also clarifying their doubts regarding their part of the role in the project, if any. Data analysis. All the proposals that you receive will be evaluated and you will select the best one or the best suitable person for your project in this case. Interpersonal and team skills. Now, once you have a set of suppliers or vendors identified for the project, you would get down to hard negotiation with all of them. That's a skill that you will need to have as a project manager. And once you have strike a best deal with the suppliers, you would go to the next stage of signing your contracts. The output during this stage would be you would have selected the sellers, vendors, and suppliers for your project. You would create agreements, contracts with the suppliers. You would update change requests, if any. The project management plan will also get updated. Remember, the project management plan is a parent copy. There are child plans under it, which we spoke of in our previous sessions. So the requirements management plan will get updated. The quality management plan will get updated. Communication plan will get updated. Risk plan will get updated. Procurement plan itself will get updated. Scope baseline and schedule baseline and cost baseline. The three baselines might also get updated depending on the vendor, supplier, or contractors conditions or criterias by which they come into the project. If that is impacting any of the baselines, that would also get updated here. Then you would have your project documents updates, which will be lessons learned registered, requirements documentation, requirements traceability matrix, risk register, stakeholder register. Your organizational process assets will also get updated according to the new vendors or suppliers that you would create a new process with. The last of the stages would be control procurements. Controlling procurements is all about managing those relationships with your sellers, making sure they are delivering what they promised, and handling any changes that come up during the execution. Key activities at controlling procurement stage involves keeping track of how suppliers are performing, dealing with any contract changes, sorting out any disagreements that pop up, making sure everything you're getting meets your quality standards, paying your suppliers on time, and wrapping things up when the work is done. At this stage, the inputs would be your project management plan and the updates that would have happened on the previous two stages. You would also have your project documents. Again, these are getting constantly updated throughout the previous two stages and the other parallel activities which are happening in the project. Your agreements which have been created during your previous stage, and your procurement documentation, approved change requests, if any, work performance data. Now, work performance data means what is happening on a day-to-day basis with each of the working members of the project. That would basically help you gauge and assess their performance and be able to give quantitative feedback, enterprise environmental factors, and organizational process assets. The tools and techniques at this stage would include your expert judgment, claims administration. Now, this is where you would look at the work done at site, the material supplied at site, and compare it with the invoices being raised by the suppliers, and you would maintain the claims. Data analysis. Here you would do performance review of your vendors. You would do earned value analysis, basically comparing what has been delivered so far with respect to the baseline and how much of value has been added to the project. Then you would also do trend analysis. This is basically an offshoot from your performance review, understanding how the vendors or suppliers are performing and what would be the future projection of what they can achieve when they go at the same rate or if they change their performance in different matrices. You would also do inspection and audits at this stage. The outputs at this stage would be your closed procurements. So if a procurement has been completely fulfilled, you would obviously close that contract. Your work performance information is part of the cyclic process that we spoke of. It will go back to the stage 2 or 1, depending on how good or bad the performance of the supplier has been. Procurement documentation updates. If there is a delay, snag, or update to the procurement cycle, that would get updated in your procurement documentation. Then you would also have your change requests getting updated, your project management plan, a few of the documents under project management plan, project document updates, and your organizational process assets updates. Now, let's look at the different construction contract types. Now, we're going to talk about some common types. The fixed price or lump sum contracts, cost reimbursable contracts, time and materials contracts, unit price contracts, and guaranteed maximum price contracts. Now, each of these types of contracts have their pros and cons. We will explore them in the next coming up slides. However, I would like you to know that these are not the only contract types that you can do, but these are the most commonly used contract types. Now, understanding fixed price contracts. They are pretty straightforward. You agree on a set price upfront, and that's what you pay, no matter what. Let's say you're getting a standard garage built for yourself. You agree on rupees 5 lakhs. Now, it's great for you because you know exactly what you will pay. But if the construction company runs into unexpected issues, they are the ones who have to absorb those costs. These contracts work very well when you know exactly what you want and there's not much chance of things changing. They are not so great for complex projects where requirements might shift along the way. The big advantage here is cost certainty for the client. So the client exactly knows how much they're going to pay at the end of the project. And the contractor is incentivized for being efficiently delivering in that budget. Whereas the disadvantages at this stage can be looked at as high risk for the contractor, and the contractor might cut corners to protect their profit margin. And there are very less flexibility for any type of changes. With cost reimbursable contracts, you are agreeing to pay for all the contractor's costs plus a fee. Imagine you're renovating an old building. You agree to pay the contractor for all their costs plus a 15% fee. This is great when you're not quite sure what you're getting into. Maybe you don't know what you will find when you start opening up the walls. But it does mean you need to keep a close eye on the expenses to make sure they're reasonable. The advantages during this stage can be looked at as flexibility for project changes and lower risk for the contractor. However, the downside, it can be harder to control costs and you need to trust your contractor. Definitely, a project of this type would require more oversight compared to the fixed price. Time and materials contracts are super flexible. You pay an hourly rate for labor and the cost of materials used. It can be considered a hybrid of fixed price and cost reimbursable aspects. This might be used for emergency repairs after a storm. It allows work to start right away, which is great. But without a defined scope, costs can add up quickly if you're not careful. The advantages of this is you can start work without knowing the full scope and you can start the work quickly. It allows for flexibility during projects uncertainty. The risk or disadvantages of this is you have less control over costs and it requires close monitoring. Costs can really spiral up if you not manage them closely. The next is unit price contracts. These are perfect when you know what needs to be done, but you're not sure how much of it you will need. Payments are based on predetermined unit rates for specific items or services. For example, in a road construction project, you might agree on a price per kilometer of the road laid. This works well because laying road is pretty standard. But you might not know exactly how many kilometers you will need until you start working around the hills and valleys. The benefit of this type of contract is flexibility in quantities, and the challenges can be it requires accurate quantity estimates and there's potential for disputes over measurements or measuring units or measuring standards. Up next is guaranteed maximum price contracts or GMP contracts. GMP contracts try to balance the risk between you and the contractor. Here's how it works. You agree to pay the contractor's costs up to a maximum amount. If it goes over, they pay. If it comes under budget, you might split the savings. Contractor is reimbursed for the actual costs up to a predetermined maximum price. This encourages efficiency, but you need to be really clear about what counts as a cost or a saving to avoid arguments later. The advantage is it caps your financial exposure and incentivizes the team to save costs. The downside? It can be complex to administer and might lead to disputes over what constitutes as a saving. Now, let's look at the 4 common ways of procuring or procurement strategies. The first is design, bid, build. Next is design, build. Then you have construction management at risk or CMAR. And then you have integrated project delivery or IPD. The third and fourth ones are relatively new and a lot of fad for right now in the industry. These strategies determine who's responsible for what and how risk is shared among everyone involved in the project. There are many other procurement strategies and not limited only to these 4. I've only tried to look at the most common and popular ones here. Design, bid, build. This is the traditional way of doing things. You hire someone to design your building, then once that's done, you put the construction work out to bid. Basically, the design and the construction are counted as 2 separate activities and 2 separate contracts. It's like ordering a custom cake. First, you work with a designer to create the perfect cake on paper. Then you take the design to a different baker or different bakers to see who can make it for the best price. This can lead to competitive pricing, but it also means the baker, or in our case, the contractor, wasn't involved in the design stage. Sometimes this can lead to practical issues when it actually time to build. The advantages is clear delineation of responsibilities. You have a lot of control over the design and the pricing can be made very competitive. The downside or disadvantages, this can take longer. The overall project can take longer, and it also leads to potential conflicts between the designers and contractors and lead to adversarial relationships. Coming to design build, in this, a single company handles both the design and the construction activity. Imagine hiring a single company to do both design and build for your new office space. This can speed things up and ensure the design is practical to build, but you might have less say in the specifics of the design. The advantage is faster delivery and better coordination between design and construction teams. However, the disadvantages, the owner has lesser control over the design details, and there might be complacency in competition because both the things are being done by the same company. They might go complacent during the design phase or during the construction stage, or vice versa, or at both stages. Construction management at risk. CMAR brings in the construction manager early in the design process. Construction manager acts as a consultant during the design and as a general contractor during construction. Think of it like having a contractor to look over the architect's shoulder while they are designing. They can give input on costs, scheduling, and how easy it will be to build. Once the design is done, they become the general contractor. This can lead to better coordination, but you need to be clear about who's responsible for what to avoid any conflicts. The benefits are obviously early contractor involvement, which leads to potentially faster project delivery. The disadvantages can be looked at as complexity in defining the roles and responsibilities, because finger pointing becomes very easy when you have someone overlooking the others' roles and responsibilities, and the potential conflict of interest which can arise. So what I mean by this is, if the general contractor or the construction manager is going to become the general contractor at a later stage, they're obviously going to drum down or make the design as easy as possible so that their construction activities become easier later. So that's a potential conflict of interest that might arise during the design stage. Or if he is a greedy contractor, he might push the architect towards doing more and more complex design so that the billing becomes higher at the later stage. So either cases, it's a potential conflict of interest. Then you have integrated project delivery, or IPD. IPD is all about collaboration. The owner, designer, and contractor all work together from the start, sharing both the risks as well as the rewards. It's like everyone holding hands and jumping in together. This can lead to some really innovative solutions and efficient delivery, but it requires a big shift in how we usually think about project relationships. The advantages are because of the aligned interests that all of the team members will have, the project outcomes and collaboration throughout the projects will be greatly improved. The downside can be it requires a high level of trust between the team members, which is slightly difficult to have in a competitive market that we are in today. And the contractual agreements would be very complex because Everybody's role is interdependent and it depends highly on the trust that they can have over each other or for each other. Sorry. Now, let's look at the selection criteria for vendors and contractors. Broadly, you will have technical capability, wherein you evaluate the vendor's technical expertise, skills, and resources to deliver the required services or products. Then you have the financial stability. Assess the vendor's financial health, credit rating, and ability to sustain operations and withstand potential risks. Then you have past performance. Review the vendor's track record, references, and success in completing similar projects or providing comparable services. Then you have proposed methodology, where you will evaluate the vendor's proposed approach, processes, and tools to ensure alignment with your requirements and best practices. Then would be price. Consider the vendor's pricing structure, value for money, and the ability to meet your budget constraints. Organizational capacity. Here, you would assess the vendor's size, resources, and ability to scale to handle the scope of your project requirements. We mean the vendor's organizational size. Right? Then you have compliance and certifications. Here, you ensure the vendor meets relevant industry standards, regulations, and certifications that align with your project needs. Let's understand each of these a bit more. Looking at technical capability. This is all about whether they have the skills and knowledge to do what you need. Whether they have the relevant experience and expertise, demonstrated track record in delivering similar projects with a strong technical background and proven skills. Do they have the quality of proposed technical solution? Innovative and robust technical approach tailored to meet the project requirements with a focus on efficiency and reliability. Do they have the capacity to handle the project requirements? Do they have sufficient resources, infrastructure, and scalability to ensure timely and successful project completion? If you're building a skyscraper, you want a contractor who's done tall buildings before, not just houses. Look at their track record, the qualification of their team, and any specialized equipment or techniques they use. Next is financial stability. You want to make sure your chosen vendor isn't going to run out of money halfway through the project. You would look at the financial strength and liquidity. You would see if they demonstrate a robust balance sheet, sufficient cash reserves, and the ability to meet financial obligations with ease. You would see their bonding capacity. Showcase a strong bonding capacity allowing for timely completion of projects and the ability to secure necessary bonds. By bonds, we mean the ability to procure loans or soft loans or financial instruments through bonds. You would also look for insurance coverage. See if they provide comprehensive insurance coverage, including liability, workers' compensation, and property insurance to mitigate risks and ensure protection. This might involve looking at their financial statements or credit ratings. Remember, if a vendor goes bankrupt mid-project, it could spell disaster for you as a project manager. Don't be shy about asking for financial information. It's a standard part of the vetting process. Then we have past performance. Past performance is often a good indicator of future performance. You would see the track record on similar projects. You might ask for extensive experience in completing 5+ successful projects of similar scope or complexity within the last 3 years. Right? That might be a statement that you would want from them. Then you have references from previous clients. Consistently received positive feedback and strong recommendations from our past 10 clients, highlighting our reliable and high quality work. This is what is a statement you would expect from the vendor or supplier in their past performance records. Exceptional safety record. This statement might look like maintained an impeccable safety record with zero reportable incidents or lost time due to accidents over the last 3 years of operations. Now, when you see these statements in the vendor's pitch for the project, you understand that their past performance has been stable or has been exceptionally good. Don't just take their word for it. Reach out to their past clients and ask about their experiences. Were projects finished on time and within budget? How did they handle any bumps on the road? Look for vendors who have successfully completed projects similar to yours. The next would be proposed methodology. This is about how they plan to tackle your specific project. They'll have to give you a project approach and execution plan, outline the overall project approach, including key phases, milestones, and deliverables, describing the execution plan, detailing the specific tasks, responsibilities, and dependencies to ensure successful project delivery. Schedule and resource allocation. Providing a detailed project schedule, outlining the timeline for each phase and task, allocating the necessary resources, including personnel, equipment, and materials, to ensure the timely and efficient completion of the project. Then you would have quality management systems. Established a comprehensive quality management system to ensure the project meets or exceeds the specified requirements. This may include quality control measures, testing procedures, and regular progress reviews to identify and address any issues or concerns. A well thought out plan shows they understand what you need and have a clear idea of how to deliver it. Look for innovative approaches that might save time or money, but be wary of untested methods that might introduce unnecessary risks to your project. The next is price considerations. While price is important, remember that the cheapest bid isn't always the best value. So you would consider for your price considerations factors like competitiveness of the bid, ensuring the bid price is competitive within the market, considering factors like materials, labor, and overhead costs. You would also look at the life cycle cost considerations. Evaluate the total cost of ownership, including maintenance, energy, consumption, and replacement costs over the lifetime of the project. A classic example would be you're considering two air conditioners for your project. One is energy efficiency rated 5-star, and the other is energy efficiency rated 4-star. Now, in terms of price, the 4-star AC might be slightly lesser to procure when compared to the 5-star energy rated AC. However, if you consider the project lifespan and the cost incurred during the lifespan of the project, you will quickly realize that the 5-star rated AC would actually cost you lesser for the life of the project or the life of the product. You would also look at the value engineering proposals. Identify opportunities to optimize design and functionality while reducing costs through innovative solutions and materials. So, consider not just the initial cost but long-term costs too. Sometimes paying a bit more upfront can save you money down the line through better quality or efficiency. Look at the total cost of ownership, not just the sticker price. Coming to the organizational capacity. This is about whether they have the team and tools to get the job done. You would look for key personal qualifications. The team includes experienced project managers, engineers, and technicians with relevant industry certifications and a proven track record of successful project delivery. Then you would look at the subcontractor relationships. Their organizational marketing brochure or the website or the document which they share with you during the vendor finalization stage should read some statements like, "We have established strong relationships with a network of reliable subcontractors, ensuring access to specialized skills and resources as needed." So, if you have a statement like this tells you that they are maintaining relationships with the subcontractors as well to mitigate any unforeseen risks in the project that might arise later. Then you have equipment and technology resources. Their organization should maintain a comprehensive inventory of the state-of-the-art equipment and any cutting-edge technologies that support efficient and high-quality project execution. You might want to look at the resumes of the key team members or even visit their facilities to see what they're capable of. Make sure they're not overcommitted. You want a vendor who can give your project the attention it deserves. You would have often seen, as part of a bid, a company's heads or head of departments and the CEO's resume is also asked with the project bid document. This is purely done to understand the organizational capacity or the leadership mindset. Now, coming to the next topic is compliance and certifications. This is to make sure they are following all the rules and have the right certifications. This helps protect you from legal and reputational risks. So the topics that you will look at for compliance and certifications would be regulatory compliance. This ensures that they adhere to all the relevant laws, regulations, and industry standards to maintain the operational integrity and brand reputation. You would also look at their industry certifications, basically the recognized certifications that demonstrate their expertise, reliability, and commitment to quality and customer satisfaction. You would also look at environmental sustainability, whether they are implementing eco-friendly practices, minimizing carbon footprint, and contributing to a greener future through responsible resource management. For example, you are doing a green building project. You might look for vendors with environmental certifications. Or if you are in a regulated industry, you want to make sure they understand and comply with all the relevant regulations for that environmental project. Now, let's look at the challenges in procurement management. Supply chain disruptions. Global events or local issues can impact material availability and prices. Then you have quality control. Ensuring procured materials and services meet project specifications and quality standards. Then you have risk allocation. Balancing risk between the owner, contractor, and suppliers through appropriate contract terms. Ethical considerations. Maintaining transparency and fairness in the procurement process. Avoiding conflicts of interest. Sustainability requirements. Integrating environmental and social sustainability criteria into your procurement decisions itself. Then, technology integration. Ensuring compatibility between procured systems and existing project technologies. Local content requirements. Meeting local regulatory requirements for using local suppliers or labor. Each of these needs careful thought and proactive engagement. For example, supply chain disruptions have become a hot topic recently, especially during COVID and post-COVID. Having backup suppliers and building some flexibility into your schedule can help mitigate this risk. Coming to best practices in procurement management, developing a comprehensive procurement strategy. Align your procurement activities with your overall project objectives and constraints. Implement e-procurement systems. Utilize digital platforms to streamline procurement processes and improve transparency. Conduct thorough vendor due diligence. Perform detailed assessments of potential suppliers, capabilities, and financial stability. Establish clear performance metrics. Define and communicate clear expectations for supplier performance. Fostering collaborative relationships. Building long-term partnerships with key suppliers to improve efficiency and innovation. Implementing risk management strategies. Identifying and mitigating procurement-related risks through appropriate contract clauses and insurances. Ensuring compliance and ethics. Maintaining strict adherence to ethical standards and regulatory requirements in all procurement activities. Last but not the least, continuously evaluating and improving. Regularly assess the procurement processes and outcomes to identify areas for improvement. By implementing these best practices and understanding the nuances of procurement in construction projects, project managers can significantly improve project outcomes, reduce costs, and mitigate risks associated with external resources and services. And there you have it. We have covered a lot of ground in our exploration of procurement management. I hope you have picked some valuable insights that you can apply to your own projects or have understood the concept well. Remember, good procurement isn't just about getting the lowest price. It's about creating value, managing risks, and building strong relationships with your suppliers and contractors. It's a complex field, but mastering it can make a huge difference to your project's success. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments below. I would love to hear about your experience with procurement too. What challenges have you faced? What strategies have worked well for you? Thanks for sticking with me through this session on procurement management. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more project management content. Until next time, keep procuring smartly.